Good evening. My name is Tim Skeen. Bryn, Gaby Berra, and I have the privilege of working with Alberto Saldaña Uribe, who is the hardest working writer known to me. Alberto comes by this honestly. Over the years, he has been a cashier, a baker, a cook, a floor stocker, an assistant dispatcher at an almond hulling company, a chemistry tutor, a sales clerk, a library aide, a research assistant, and a contracts analyst. This is a partial list. He earned a Bachelor of Science degree in biology and now an MFA in creative writing. In his bilingual book-length manuscript, Organic Memory, Alberto has written a profound meditation on love and loss, happiness and sadness, health and its opposite. Organic Memory is a kind of handbook on the alchemy of compassion. This is not an easy book to read. It makes demands on the reader. It is medicinal. For example, kinase, a catalyzer in the body, becomes, quote, a legacy that lasts longer than threats. Cortisol, the hormone produced by the adrenal glands that regulate stress, becomes the rest at the end of a never-ending corridor. That's poetic. Epinephrine is not merely a vasoconstrictor associated with fight or flight. It is, quote, the body reacting before reason. At the same time, in addition to the serious contemplation of compounds and their emotional parallels that regulate our lives, there's also humor in this book. For instance, while caffeine increases circulatory and neural activity, it's also essential in, quote, writing a poetry collection. So for the fourth time tonight, we have the luck to be awestruck. With the greatest pleasure, I introduce to you the poet, Alberto Saldaña Uribe.
All right, so thank you, Dr. Skeen, for the incredible introduction and for being my thesis chair. Your advice, your patience, your wisdom. I genuinely can't express how much of an impact you've had on me and my writing. I took your workshop twice, a poem a week. That process helped develop the majority of the manuscript. You taught me about the power in keeping things simple, moving away from this idea of trying to reinvent writing and just focus instead on making my writing matter. Working with you has been a pleasure, an honor, and a gift. I genuinely believe you don't get the appreciation of the flowers that you truly deserve. In my family, we know how easy it is to leave the gift of flowers for a tomorrow we can't guarantee. So Dr. Skeen, I hope you know you deserve a field's worth. But for now, I hope that those will suffice. To the rest of my thesis committee, Gaby Barra, your work is dope, and I'm truly honored to be working with you. Professor Saito, thank you for talking me off the ledge my first semester when I could barely find my footing. Thank you for your recommendations, advice, and for being a genuine, kind soul. I aspire to someday write half as well as you do. Thank you, Jefferson, for being the central nervous system of this whole program. You're the best. Dr. Mandeville, I couldn't figure out how to work different languages, different voices in my writing. Your class helped me balance out the sides of that equation, so thank you. Professors Church and Womer, your nonfiction workshops have brought out some of my favorite writing and have opened up whole new areas for me to explore. Thank you to Dr. Herrera, Professor Garcia, and James Tyner for helping me get my foot in the door. I wouldn't be here without you. Dr. Henson, your Intro to Lit course changed everything for me. You saw something in my writing before anyone else did. Thank you for helping my voice find its way onto the page. Big thank you to Fresno State Biology, Chemistry, and Physics departments. My entire foundation and approach to writing will always be heavily influenced by your teachings. To those reading with me, thank you for your help, advice, your time. Thank you to everyone who's been a part of this program during my time here. And thank you in particular to Mike, Andy, Christina, Jacob, James, and Sam. You're all mad incredible, and I'm honored and humbled to have met you all. Thank you to Cristina Quesada for being my first teacher, even before K through 12. My cousin Abel, every like, comment, DM, it's mad appreciated. Thank you for always listening. It feels nice to know someone is. Thank you to my ancestors. Thank you to my siblings. On my best day, I'm a failed imitation of you two. And on my worst, you never fail to catch me. I love you both. To my father, we see the world very differently, and I'm learning to appreciate that more. To my mama, thank you for being my mom. Thank you for listening to every story, every poem, and I'm so sorry for making you cry. But for me, that was my way of knowing it was good. And especially thank you to my nephew, Dante, and my uncle, Toño. This manuscript is a love letter to you both. And finally, thank you to my grandpa. He never knew how powerful his voice was, but from El Estanco, Jalisco to Fresno, California, the selection of poems I'm reading for you tonight are attempts at replicating his voice translated and transfigured decades after he passed. His voice still persists. All right, so I'm just gonna read straight through them. Hopefully the flow doesn't break that way. All right, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Mijo, I didn't get to learn to read, much less to write. I started drawing out my ABCs for the first time at 80. I picked up how to tell a story in splotches of watercolor waves, brush strokes pushing emotion across a soundscape canvas. Thin lines delineate delicate moments, outlining a history. I hate to revisit, but I need you to preserve. Long after I'm gone, can you make our art last? Sirium Guayaba. Me enamoré de la niña del guayabo, en la dorada gira del sol al amanecer. Bendición vuelta dueña de todo mi alabo, bajo las hojas le prometí que será mi mujer. En la dorada gira del sol al amanecer, en la rama más ancha una niña vestida rosa pastel. Bajo las hojas le prometí que será mi mujer. Ojos tapatíos sobre la sonrisa más traviesa y cruel. En la rama más ancha una niña vestida rosa pastel. Juraba que el guayabo le pertenecía a su padre. Ojos tapatíos sobre la sonrisa más traviesa y cruel. Por las guayabas que dignó robadas, aseguró que pagaré. Juraba que el guayabo le pertenecía a su padre. Cada año yo llenaba canastas de fruta inmaculada. Por las guayabas que dignó robadas, aseguró que pagaré. Ayer me aseguró que hoy solo encontraré mierda. Cada año yo llenaba canastas de fruta inmaculada. Dejé mis guaraches al pie del árbol. Intenté escalar. Ayer me aseguró que hoy solo encontraré mierda. En la base del guayabo, mis pies hundían el lugar. Dejé mis guaraches al pie del árbol. Intenté escalar. Dedos de los pies envueltos en cagada ardiente. En la base del guayabo, mis pies hundían el lugar. Aprendí la capacidad de persona demente. Dedos de los pies envueltos en cagada ardiente. La niña volvió realidad su amenaza. Aprendí la capacidad de persona demente. Juré que un día tendrá mi venganza. El castigo inventado salió siendo amor de novela. Me enamoré de la niña del guayabo. Hoy le llamo esposa y tú le llamas abuela. Bendición vuelta eterna, dueña de todo mi alabo. All right, Kinase 1. Madrecita, I'm terrified. Shirts tearing at the seams. We live a poverty nightmare where dreams can't breathe. And still I find myself carrying what little I could gather from our barren lives in El Estanco. As tribute, a gift for the gift we hardly could deserve. Madrecita, have you seen him? Did you hold him before I did? This perfect child, this immaculate little blessing, 17 de enero 1942. I'll call him Toño. A flood of hope. He has brought life to the maíz we thought dead. My son has drowned our lives in light. He ends our night, and he wears your smile. Fibers barely holding this worn-out legacy is not nearly good enough for my boy, but I'll break every salvageable part of myself to fuel his future. Madrecita, I'm terrified of not being father enough when he needs me. Will I listen, or will he find judgment where he needs support? I kept you in my prayers long before you left me. All I ask, Mother, please, let me be as father as he needs. Obsidian mirror. The strangulating smoke clears the image conjured in the conchoidal ebb. a volcanic stone. Truth has a tendency of filling the lungs, expanding tissue. Approach a threshold hardly familiar, diaphragm pleading for reprieve as inherent nature forces lasting contraction. Teaching the body to hoard the breath comes easy. Increasing thoracic volume is just a reduction in pulmonary pressure, welcoming ambient air in. So letting go that proves to be the most difficult. Letting go of an inhale that you worry will never find its way back to you. Letting go of a hand that once curled its entirety around the single of your fingers. Letting go of a son who is starting to act just like you. My boy carries dreams I buried back in my youth with a shovel named poverty. We call our breath tidal flow, best known for its anatomical dead space. See, we struggle to release all the air in our lungs, mixing. It's constantly mixing. Even when we let go, we never let go completely. And there's comfort in knowing an exhale is never a complete goodbye. Finding out your son is a boxer and a damn good one too, apparently. With the money you've been saving for a gift for yourself, a good father buys the best used gloves he can find. Even the best human lungs can never get a maximum oxygen exchange. I can't afford the newest equipment, but I can show my son support. I can let him go, like a breath from my aging lips, knowing the son I carried in my arms, the breaths we shared as I held him close. Part of it still mixes in his imperfect airway, just like they do in mine. Knowing if I let him go, fight the world, a part of him will still be here with me, beside my heart, where he belongs. Grandpa met Alzheimer's for the first time as he wept beside PCH. I took a left on East L Street and Watson Avenue, savored the dulcet cedar sting of fresh mulberry. Another left past my granddaughter's school onto Ruby Dew. Clinic after clinic, white coat after coat, a stretch of legs is overdue. Humid breeze soothing xeroderma, arbitrary hopes of ordinary. I took a right on East L Street and Watson Avenue. False positives, smiles of oncologists praising remission continue. No formal education doesn't mean I rationalize in the imaginary. Another right at the end of a school onto Ruby Dew. Optimistic dreams from grandchildren I'd hate to devalue. Rusted phlegm hacked into the purple pañuelo I carry. I took a right. Left on East L Street and Watson Avenue. Bloodstained fingers from the berries or the pulmonary spew. I can't recognize any buildings. Each step forced cautionary. Another right. Left at the edge of a gate onto Ruby Dew. Disoriented, unrelenting, tankers and semis tear through the misremembered space around me, rendered fragmented slurry. I took a left. Right. Left. Turned on East L Street and Watson Avenue. Another turn onto the edge of the highway. I can't find Ruby Dew. Fruta de sus vientres. Mamá, deja y te cuento lo que ha sido mi día. Amanecí a las 4, tal como me enseñaste. El sol en el horizonte, olas azules, pétalos naranja, besos color rosa, decoraban el cielo. Hasta me imagino que tú lo pintaste así. La oscuridad contorsionaba, absorbiendo el pecado. El crepúsculo salpicado por azul, atravesado por naranja y bendecido por rosa. En un campo solitario, un valle rodeado de cerros. La luz iluminaba un solo guayabo, lleno de fruta, perfectamente equilibrado. Una combinación de verdes profundos, amarillos brillantes. El árbol se estremecía con la brisa que pasaba entre sus hojas cerrosas. Dejé mis guaraches en la base del árbol. La gente se burla que están descoloridos y gastados, ni idea tienen el valor que cargo en las plantas de mis pies. Mis camisas también tienen hoyos, pero yo solo veo regalos que no me abandonan, ni por un rompimiento de costura. Subí el árbol y encontré una guayaba inmaculada, su piel de oro, sin ningún desprecio. Repegué las cicatrices en mis pies contra la rama más gruesa. Aventé mi cuerpo como una lanza. Madre, llegué a volar. sintiendo el aire acariciando mi piel como si fuera tu calor permaneciendo, y no sentí el golpe al caer al suelo. Salí fuerte, madrecita. Nada que sentí, la guayaba entre mis manos. Con mi cuerpo la protegí. Mamá, ¿miras la guayaba? ¿Puedes ver? Su fruta color de rosa castilla. ¿Puedes ver la perfección que hizo el árbol para ti? Madrecita morena, la imagen de ti y la memoria de mi mamá hace tiempo que se empezaron a mezclar. Espero que no les moleste. Aquí les dejo la guayaba, fruta bendita, labor de sus amores. En el nombre del Padre que sigue vivo, el Hijo que extraña a su mamá y el Espíritu de mi Santa Madre que enterré. En el arroyo cerca de mi casa está una cruz de piedras pulidas. Me senté a llorar, a contarte mi día, mamá, y soñar que un día me responderás. Adrenocorticotropic hormone. Torn cloth lays spread like faded islands. It sits on these humble gloves with which you've made a whispered name. Blooming skin, purple flowers, burst through earthen tissue. Each night you return, tell me, son, do you not see? Cada golpe I feel, they appear on me. Fighting son, I'd wish you'd change, but I could not ask for your unhappiness in exchange for a quiet night of sleep. Beautiful boy, my fighting son. Scraps to some, savings to us, I gave all I had to rid you of islands. This heavenly sheen of boxing gloves, slightly scraped, but still intact, just like you need to return to me. My eldest child, did you bob? Did you weave? Jab with care, hook like a crashing wave. Please, was it enough? Could it be enough? Dear Lord, dear Mother, was I not father enough? Was it my haunting mistake, my cursed fate, to hold in my arms my fighting son, my boxing champion undefeated in a ring, unable to fall, he fought until the end, but even fighting son cannot survive bullet wounds. Dopamine. On May 6, 2006, Oscar de la Hoya faced Ricardo Mayorga at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Paradise, Nevada, for the WBC super welterweight title. After weeks of volatile press conferences and unrelenting insults from Mayorga, East LA's Oscar de la Hoya, the Golden Boy, would win after a referee stoppage at 1 minute 25 seconds of the sixth round. Leopoldo, my grandfather, sat on the edge of a freshly purchased leather couch, shadowboxing alongside de la Hoya. I sat next to him the entire time. Newspaper clippings I had my grandchildren read narrate a better summary than those pre-fight videos. Ese Golden Boy lost his confidence con Hopkins, pero nuestra sangre no nos deja rendir. Relearning the hardening of buckling knees, yearning for proof. He still has another fight in him. Using each Mayorga insult, each glancing jab as fuel, motivating a body out of a slump, dancing through a ring, avoiding each hit, giving Ricky's 333 punches, a 17% contact rate, absorbing the 58, and little Oscar responding with 44%. Serenity travels down my spine as I register Mayorga's arrogance, crumbling to its knees at the start of the sixth, nearly slipping off the edge of the leather cushioning, estrenando a symbol of sacrifice, my pride, cradling into the cusp of my daughter's efforts. You know, she was denied across a city at each furniture store. The scent of labor molecules woven alongside sweat, that cherry-stained coffee table. You know, she bought a complete furniture set. A television stretched across an entire living room, paid entirely in cash. And the first to sit, my youngest daughter reserved for me that honor. A privilege to watch my little girl take her first steps out of the poverty I brought her into this world knowing. Her middle-class triumphs shared alongside de la Hoya. On screen, the punishing onslaught forced a referee stoppage. I celebrated the victories, swallowing cascading brackish regrets. My daughter raised on hand-me-downs, a boxer regaining confidence. Success. I can't fathom how even celebrations retain bitter anguish. I never saw Toño in the ring. His trainer told me after 6 feet of acidic soil sealed a stolen future. My son had potential. Watching Oscar seal a victory with a 20-hit combination, my daughter breaking glass ceilings. I can't help but imagine their fights replaying in my mind. Personal highlight reels. Maybe I could have seen my Toño winning gold. The possibility of streaming fans seeing my own Golden Boy the way I always did. Or at least he could have been punching air beside me, sharing a look, sneaking gratitude for the time we lost, beaming with pride for my mija's ascension. Two storied men swearing we both still have some fight left. Grandpa chased ghosts I've evaded my whole life. Mijo, I've lived enough to know I've fucked up about as much as I've stumbled. On to good, that's about as best as I could hope for. There's still one regret I keep chasing, hoping to remedy. But this hazy memory, this metastasizing body, it ain't gonna give me much more. Droplets of time I was in my 20s out in a field near Ejutla, a couple months out from the day Toño died in my arms. Cazando venado con mi cuñado. Tenía fama, never hesitating to pull triggers. Pero mijo, the deer had eyes like Toño's. Stomach churning, pasábamos hambres, pero lo dejé ir. And thank God, my cuñado separated from the start. Mijo, I broke down and cried. Pero in the distance vi otro venado, que se me enchina la piel al recordar. Azure eyes, horns glinting gold, body a haunting shade of white. Something so immaculate has a way of making tear frequency rise even further. But it stared directly at me. Mijo, I swear it was asking me to follow, majestically motioning for me to climb the ledge and follow. I should have followed. Pero a shot fired, mi cuñado called out, and I turned for a second, just for a second. But the deer was gone, and mi cuñado stood over the deer I had just let go. He never believed me, but it had Toño's eyes, dimming silently, reminding me I failed them again. Prieto, do me a favor. If you ever happen upon an ivory deer with a crown of gold, tell him your grandfather says he's sorry. I failed him. I should have followed. Acetylcholine. My name is Leopoldo Saldaña. I married my childhood sweetheart, Maria de Jesus. We had to bury more than half of our children. My eldest, my pride and joy, Antonio, was murdered. He died in my arms and made me promise to let the violence die with him. I have Alzheimer's disease. My name is Leopoldo. My wife is Maria. We've known each other since we were children. We buried our children. Antonio was murdered. I held him as he died. I made him a promise. I have Alzheimer's. Write down what you forget. Disease. My name is Leopoldo. I'm married to Maria de Jesus, parentheses, childhood sweetheart. Some of my children have died. Miscarriages, Licho, Jose, Marisela, Erika, Maria. Toño was murdered. I held him as he died. I promised him to let the violence die. I have Alzheimer's disease. My name is, I can't remember, Leopoldo. She keeps telling me we're married. I can't remember. Maria, I'm sorry. The other children, I can't remember. Forgive me. Toño was murdered. I held him as he died. Promise me you won't let me forget him. Mi prieto. You look just like him. No dejes. Why is this happening to me? Que me olvide de ti. I can't remember. 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 But I remember my beautiful baby boy. Toño was murdered. I held him as he died. Gamma aminobutyric acid. Conquian. An ancestor to all modern rummy games. Shuffle the deck. Dispense 10 cards. Winner stretches into 11. Exchange just one. Card flipped over. I dealt, so you get to pull. Take it if you need it. Mijo, don't overthink it. Insecurity is a consistency we take for granted playing with our own deck, without the 8s, 9s, and 10s. You're still playing it safe. So worried about stinging risk. Don't run from a little kick in our foods, drinks, lives. Regret is just a sign of a life unlived. Learn to gamble with it. If I can't leave you anything else, let it be this. See the 9 cards you've brought down, waiting on 2 for a win? Watch me draw 1, half of what you need placed on your side, forcing a discard. The card I'm missing to bring down the 10 in my hand, with your discard, I make 11. Very next card would have secured your win. No tenemos las respuestas, pero igual tenemos que avanzar. Ganar o perder, la vida se trata de hacer, no soñar con lo que nunca dejamos ser. Mi querido viejo, Open casket, face pulled as tight as possible, trying to iron out any imperfections. Ain't they realized the wrinkles were part of your charm? Dressed in a navy blue suit, Mama wanted you looking as sharp as possible. I always thought you looked best in your Dickies and Ben Davis. Vigil at 7 p.m. on a weekday. Mortuary home had to open up the rooms with extra seating. Even then could barely fit, pressed in the pews to seal away any emptiness. Video package my siblings prepared, playing on a loop, your favorite tracks serenading old photos. Some of them songs, Gramps. They sting like alcohol on open wounds. Morning mass in Lomita, cars filled out multiple blocks on both sides of the street. Not a single person left your side, following all the way to the cemetery. Priest gave a small sermon, right there on burial greens. Grandma bit her cheeks through most of it, but even Grams couldn't hold it cuando los mariachis empezaron a cantar. Burial in Rancho Palos Verdes, on the greenest of hills. They planted a tree alongside you. Fitting, really. Think about it. La gente buena no se entierra, se siembra. All right. The last one I got, it's first man I ever loved. Pleated khakis, crisp iron forming perfect Twin Peaks, deepest marines, softest sky blues traverse white and gray, clouds made linear. Flannel fits tight around firm protruding shoulders. Ben Davis, buttoned up to the neck, black and white panels, quilted and lined, sealing in warmth, flannel on flannel, an OG fashion statement. A seasoned face with salt and pepper stubble, head clean shaven, smooth as shea, swaddled in a cornflower blue paisley bandana, black floor chimes with a Velcro top, posted in the alley, balancing a crystal rosary between his fingers. Cholo after cholo walks on through, little lean in their step, chin pressed skyward, eyes staring down the bridge of their nose. Even they can't help their hardened exteriors eroding under cosmic radiation, the intensity of his gap smile. His remaining teeth are the stars sprinkled in the atmosphere brought earthbound for a brief moment, escaping the smog from the refinery and surviving in the sealed safety behind his lips. Each cholito can't help pressing their palms against his own, feeling wisdom's weight in the leathering of his skin. When asked what he was waiting for out in the concrete where bad intentions run amok like cracks, he speaks softly, generating his own gravity, pulling them in while his voice tenderly caresses against their ears. O llega a casa mi prieto. My first kiss from a man was abrasive, his trimmed beard brushing against me, the prickling of hair follicles into brown cheeks, making my infant body squirm. The first man I ever loved taught me the meaning of the word, and his trembling hands held a single blade to his beard, so the next time he kissed my cheek, his own would be just as smooth. Thank you.